Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we've got something really special for you. We're going to completely decode how ancient wisdom from thousands of years ago maps perfectly onto the cutting-edge discoveries of modern science. If you've been searching for a practical guide to the art of living peacefully, or just looking for some clarity in a world that's honestly full of doubts and struggles right now, you are definitely in the right place. We are going to explore exactly how to cure our modern-day anxieties and that awful decision paralysis we all get, using a brilliant synthesis of ancient philosophy and modern physics.
So let's dive right in with a somewhat provocative question. What if the crushing overwhelm you feel on a random Monday morning isn't a personal failure at all? What if it's actually a scientific phenomenon? It turns out that intense sense of decision paralysis you experience is what modern science calls probability overload. You are quite literally trying to compute way too many uncertain outcomes at once. It's basically crashing your mental hard drive, kind of like an old computer trying to run 50 tabs at the same time. But what if an ancient text already provided the ultimate software update to fix this exact bug? To figure this out, we're weaving together three dense but incredibly rewarding fields today: ancient Vedic philosophy, quantum physics, and thermodynamics. So here's our roadmap. We'll hit the physics of mental chaos, Tyaga as the ancient antidote, quantum reality and detachment, the thermodynamics of inner peace, the observer in the Upanishads, and finally, mastering the art of living. All right, Section 1, the physics of mental chaos and understanding probability overload. You know, in our daily lives, we tend to operate like classical physicists. We expect exact predictable results. We think, if I do A, then B absolutely must happen. But the truth? Reality actually operates on quantum uncertainty, where multiple potential outcomes coexist all at the same time. We suffer so much because we stubbornly cling to this classical illusion of absolute control. When we face real-world quantum uncertainty, where anything could happen before the event actually plays out, our minds just get trapped in probability overload. And this uncertainty causes our amygdala to literally hijack our brain, spiking our cortisol and totally shutting down our prefrontal cortex. And this trapped, overwhelming feeling leads to what we can scientifically define as high mental entropy. Now, in thermodynamics, entropy is a direct measure of chaos and disorder. So when we fiercely attach ourselves to unpredictable outcomes, essentially trying to force a guaranteed result in a totally probabilistic universe, we create a literal state of psychological disorder. We're just burning through our mental energy trying to control the uncontrollable, which generates massive internal chaos. Moving on to Section 2, Tyaga, the ancient antidote, which is all about relinquishing the fruits of action. It's incredibly fascinating how Chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita differentiates two key concepts here: sannyasa and tyaga. A lot of times when people hear the word renunciation, they picture, running away to meditate in a cave forever. That is sannyasa, a formal lifetime commitment where you completely give up actions prompted by desire. But the Gita highlights Tyaga as the highly practical, everyday antidote for the rest of us. Tyaga is the moment-to-moment practice of letting go of our anxiety over the results of our actions. It is absolutely not about abandoning the world. It's about fully engaging with it without being emotionally destroyed by whatever the outcome is. The Gita actually classifies this relinquishing of action into three types based on your inner energy state, or your gunas. For instance, if you abandon your obligatory duties just out of pure delusion, that's tamasic. It's essentially throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Now, if you abandon your duty just because it's physically uncomfortable or too hard, that's rajasic. But the absolute ideal state we want to aim for is sattvic tyaga. This means you fully perform your righteous duty, but you completely, 100%, drop the attachment to the outcome. You put in the hard work, but you gracefully let go of the anxiety about the result. Listen to this. Lord Krishna says, abandoning attachment and also their fruits. Such actions that are obligatory are performed, O Arjuna. This is my certain and best opinion. The crucial takeaway here is that you do not abandon the work itself. You abandon the toxic attachment to the result. This is literally the ultimate guide to clarity in your actions. You're out there engaging in the world, doing exactly what needs to be done, but you refuse to let the unpredictable nature of the universe dictate your inner peace. Let's look at Section 3, quantum reality and detachment, and how we shape probabilities. It is honestly amazing how seamlessly this ancient wisdom maps right onto modern neuroscience and quantum physics. From a neuroscience perspective, obsessing over results actually creates a dopamine addiction. We get addicted to the high of a very specific outcome, which just creates a massive mental clutter and, of course, deep suffering when reality doesn't comply. On the flip side, focusing entirely on the process puts your brain into a flow state, harmonizing your nervous system. Action without attachment is essentially you coming into perfect alignment with a probabilistic reality. You just accept that reality is uncertain, and by doing that, you free your mind from the exhausting burden of trying to control everything. And this perfectly illustrates the modern scientific equivalent of karma yoga. Detached action, or karma yoga, is simply you positively influencing quantum probability fields. You are putting focused energy into the system through your actions to actively shape the probabilities of a good outcome. But, and this is key, you are not aggressively demanding that the universe hand you absolute certainty. You're participating in the creation of reality without being a hostage to it. Section 4. The thermodynamics of inner peace and conserving your mental energy. Think about the first law of thermodynamics for a second. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, it only transforms. Well, this beautifully mirrors the concept of the immortal soul in the Gita, an everlasting energy source that manifests in physical forms but never truly dies. On the other hand, we have the second law of thermodynamics, which warns us that closed systems naturally drift toward chaos, or entropy, if left unchecked. When we attach heavily to outcomes, we are fighting a natural law, and as a result, generating immense mental chaos. 10,000 kilojoules per kilogram Kelvin. Just let that sink in. That is the average physiological entropy production in a human being. When we waste our mental energy stressing over our desires, worrying about past failures, or desperately trying to force a future outcome, we are physically increasing our internal chaos. We're burning our energy so inefficiently. The Gita's teachings on detachment are, in a very real, scientific sense, methods for conserving your mental energy and maintaining thermal equilibrium inside your own mind. All right, Section 5, the observer in the Upanishads and consciousness as the foundation. So to stabilize this thermodynamic chaos and find real peace, we have to totally shift our perspective. The Aitareya Upanishad establishes this beautifully. It says our core identity isn't the chaotic, entropy-generating mind, but rather the pure consciousness that is observing it all. Modern physics tells us that matter is secondary, and the ancient texts completely agree. You are not your fluctuating thoughts or the unpredictable outcomes around you. You are the steady, unbroken awareness beneath all of that. And looking at quantum mechanics, John Archibald Wheeler's famous delayed choice experiment proves that the act of observation actively shapes reality. The observer is a fundamental part of the system. This aligns flawlessly with the Vedantic concept of the drashta, or the observer. By simply being the aware observer of your thoughts and the world rather than getting tangled up in the deterministic mechanics of it, you actually alter the manifestation of your reality. It's wild. We can actually take this profound connection a step further with the quantum Zeno effect. In physics, this is a phenomenon where continuous observation can actually freeze a quantum system right in its current state. Metaphysically, this parallels exactly what happens when you practice mindfulness. By maintaining continuous, detached observation, truly embodying the drashta, you can literally freeze mental chaos. You stabilize your mind's fluctuations just by calmly observing them, without any attachment. Finally, Section 6, Mastering the Art of Living Using the Thermodynamic Well-Being Model. If you want to cultivate this kind of life-changing detachment, you can follow these highly practical steps. First, you have to accept impermanence. Know that all systems naturally move toward disorder. Things change, and stubbornly holding on to them is just a huge waste of energy. Second, practice selfless duty or karma yoga. Actively do your work to transform your energy positively, but do it selflessly to ease your inner turmoil. And third, surrender the outcomes. Once you act, step back. Let the system naturally regain its equilibrium. By surrendering the result, you conserve an immense amount of mental energy. We can further optimize our mental energy and reduce our daily entropy with a few simple practices. Examine your desires objectively, because they are massive energy drains if you leave them unchecked. Focus strictly on the present moment. This drastically lowers that results-driven anxiety about the future. Set emotional boundaries in heated situations to keep your steady perspective as the observer. And practice mindfulness to continually observe your thoughts objectively, which, as we just learned, activates that quantum Zeno effect to freeze internal chaos right in its tracks. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to carry into your week. When you wake up tomorrow and face your next struggle, your next tough decision, or a moment of doubt, how are you going to spend your mental energy? Are you going to waste it trying to force an impossible certainty in a quantum universe? Or will you embrace the ancient practice of Tyaga, let go of the fruits of your actions, and gracefully master your own probability field? The choice and the profound peace that comes with it is entirely yours.